Hi, my name's Ashlyn and I'm a sophomore in the Purdue CEM program. This past summer, I spent my time in Indianapolis with Messer Construction, working on the IU Health North Cancer Center. Something that was really awesome about my experience this summer is that I was exposed to a lot of technology that I had never heard of before. Being in a cancer center like that, there's so many different things that I had never heard of before, one of them specifically being the linear accelerator. I had to learn about the different components that the room had and the different requirements, one of those being that the walls, as you can see in this picture, are 3 feet thick with concrete, and so I also had to learn about the different mechanical components within the room and how we were protecting them from the radiation, and I did that by learning how radiation travels and the perfect placement for those things. And so that was definitely a triumph that I experienced this summer, figuring that out, and really interesting to learn more about cancer research at the same time. And the building was laid out very particularly to make sure that each room had the privacy needed for the patients while also containing radiation. I was also exposed to a lot of different documentation, which was really helpful for me as this was my first experience in the construction field for an internship. I learned how important documentation is because at the end of my summer, I had to pass off all the responsibilities that I had had to someone else, and they needed to understand what I had been saying and what I had been doing all summer, and so I understood the importance of that through that experience. I also was able to navigate different plans throughout the summer, and that was really helpful for me as I was on site. I was able to carry the plans with me and make marks as I walked. One of those examples was when I did in-wall inspections to prepare for inspectors to come in order to save time because our schedule would get behind if the inspector failed us and had to return on a later date. Being on a healthcare project, I also learned the importance of different things as I was in charge of infection control. Something that was super important was to keep charge of documentation every week. So every day, multiple times a day, I would be checking for the partitions to make sure that they were in good shape and also checking for cleanliness. Communication with the hospital was also very big in this as they would see problems and communicate with me so that I would then need to go communicate with someone who had the ability to fix those problems. And that was something that was very meticulous, and I think I learned a lot from that as well. One of the biggest parts of construction that I've learned is communication. I spent so much time communicating with different people, one of those being the subcontractors, as I had to communicate what my managers told me in our meetings that we had without them, and I was then in charge of doing that. One avenue that we did that in was through checking things off of a list. So I would go through the building and find things that didn't meet the plans, and then I was in charge of marking them down, communicating with the subcontractors to get it fixed, and then communicating with my manager whenever everything was taken care of. Another thing was also communicating with my managers about different things on-site and off-site, one of those being whenever I wasn't able to be at work and asking for time off. And so that was something that I find really valuable in a lot of ways outside of work even. And I also have really grown in communication through interviews and my other professional experiences. So this summer really helped me grow, and then going to the career fair this year was a lot easier, talking to people and finding an internship with a different company, a different city that I'm also very excited for. So I learned a lot this summer and very much grew as a professional and an individual. Thank you.